The orbital bombardment had turned the colony world of Threshkar into a crematorium. Alpha Vectharn stood atop the command bunker's collapsed eastern wall, his forearms hanging limp at his sides, watching the mushroom clouds bloom across the horizon like poisonous flowers. His mate, Sira, was gone, vaporized in the first strike that had obliterated the civilian shelters. The Krellian fleet had shown no mercy. The Alpha's species, the Vokren, were apex predators from a death world where survival meant dominance. They had conquered 17 star systems through sheer ferocity. But now, watching his world burn, Vectharn felt something he'd never experienced before. Helplessness. His communication implant crackled. Alpha, the nursery. The transmission cut to static. The nursery. His cubs. Vectharn's heart seized. 36 Vokren young, including his own bloodline, were in the underground nursery on the far side of the settlement. The same side where a Krellian dropship had just crashed, spilling burning fuel across 6 city blocks. He moved without thought, his powerful legs carrying him down the rubble. The heat hit him like a physical wall as he approached the inferno. Even his thermally resistant hide couldn't withstand temperatures that could melt titanium. He made it 50 meters before his fur began to singe, forcing him back. No! The roar tore from his throat, primal and anguished. Then he saw her. A figure emerged from the flames, small, impossibly fragile by Vokran standards. The human. Ilara Nox, the xenobiologist who had arrived 6 months ago to study Threshkar's ecosystem. She wore nothing but her standard-issue jumpsuit and a respirator mask that looked woefully inadequate. But that wasn't what made Vectharn's breath catch. She was carrying cubs. Not 1, not 2, but 4 Vokran young, cradled in her arms, their small bodies pressed against her chest. She stumbled, fell to one knee, and Vectharn saw the burns on her exposed skin, red, blistering. The kind of injuries that would hospitalize most species for weeks. She stood back up. Impossible, someone whispered behind him. The other Vokran warriors had gathered, watching in stunned silence. Ilara Nox staggered forward, each step deliberate. Her boots left bloody prints on the scorched ground. She reached the safe zone and carefully, reverently, set the cubs down. One of them, little Rune, Vectharn's youngest, whimpered and clung to her leg. "It's okay, brave one," she rasped, her voice raw from smoke inhalation. "Your papa's here." Then she turned back toward the fire. "What is she?" one of the warriors began. "She's going back in," Vectharn said, disbelief and horror warring in his voice. And she did. The human woman disappeared into the inferno again. Into temperatures that should have killed her on first exposure. The Vokran stood frozen, their warrior instincts screaming that this was madness, that the human was dead, that nothing could survive that hell. 3 minutes passed. 5, 7. "She's gone," a warrior said quietly. Then the flames parted, and Ilara Nox emerged again, 3 more cubs in her arms. Her jumpsuit was smoking, holes burned through the fabric. The skin beneath was charred black in places. She couldn't have more than 30% functional skin left. She didn't stop. 4 more trips. Each time, Vectharn expected her not to return. Each time, she proved him wrong. By the 6th trip, she was barely walking, her legs trembling so badly she moved in a shuffling crawl. The other Vokran had tried to follow her example, but even their enhanced physiology couldn't withstand more than seconds in that heat. The human was dying by degrees, and she kept going. On her final trip, she carried only 1 cub, tiny Rune's littermate, Kessa. Ilara Nox collapsed 3 meters from the safe zone. The cub tumbled from her arms, wailing. Vectharn surged forward, scooping up his daughter with one set of arms while another warrior retrieved the human. Up close, he could see that Ilara Nox's eyes were swollen shut, her lips cracked and bleeding. 3rd-degree burns covered at least 60% of her body. She should have been dead an hour ago. "Medical!" he roared. "Get me medical now!" As they rushed her to the emergency treatment center, Rune squirmed in Vectharn's arms, reaching toward the human. "Lara," the cub whimpered, using the nickname they'd all adopted. "Lara hurt." "Yes," Vectharn said, his voice thick. She is. The medics worked for 18 hours straight. Vokran medicine was advanced, but they'd never treated a human with such catastrophic injuries. They'd never had to. Most species would have simply died. Ilara Nox didn't die. 3 weeks later, Vektharn stood in the medical bay, watching the human woman sit up in her recovery bed. Rune and the other cubs surrounded her, carefully avoiding her still healing burns. They'd been here every day, keeping vigil. Why? Vektharn asked the question that had haunted him. You could have left. Could have reached the evacuation ships. Why did you go into the fire? Ilara Nox looked at him with those strange, forward-facing predator eyes that humans possessed. She glanced down at Rune, who was curled against her side, purring softly. Because they're children, she said simply. And on my world, we have a saying. It takes a village to raise a child. I might not be Vokran, but I'm part of this village. That makes them mine to protect too. Vektharn had studied human culture during their mission briefings. He'd read about their wars, their violence, their tribalism. The reports had painted them as dangerous, unpredictable, barely civilized. The reports had been wrong. They weren't dangerous because they were violent. They were dangerous because they loved fiercely enough to walk through fire. Because they extended their definition of tribe to include anyone they chose. Because pain and death were obstacles, not deterrents. The Krellians fear humans, Vektharn said quietly. Now I understand why. Ilara Nox smiled, wincing as the expression pulled at her healing skin. We're not that scary. Alpha, Rune chirped in disagreement, and the other cubs joined in, their little voices rising in a chorus. They'd seen what she'd done. They knew. Vektharn's species had conquered 17 star systems through strength and ferocity. But as he watched the small human woman surrounded by the cubs she'd saved, cubs who weren't even her species, he realized that humanity had discovered something far more powerful than dominance. They'd discovered what it meant to choose your pack, and then die for it if necessary. The galaxy would learn that lesson soon enough. And the Krellians, Vektharn thought with savage satisfaction, would learn it first. After all, they'd just made an enemy of humanity's village. And humans, it seemed, never forgot their own.